class. This is Tuesday the 13th of January, and we're going to basically round up the early history of Louisiana and New Orleans with the Louisiana Purchase towards the end of this video that you're about to see. But first off, what we're going to touch upon is the impact of the French Revolution, which started in 1789, and it was a major world event that completely obliterated the monarchy in France and replaced it with a republic under the blade of a guillotine. They executed the king and his queen and Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette. You probably know a little bit about that story, or at least heard of it. But that was a major world event, and as a result, because the King of Spain was related to the monarchy in France, the Spanish declared war upon France. Now, not too long after that, the Spanish made a very, very secret deal with the French not too long after that declaration of war, to basically give up the Louisiana territory and New Orleans to France. Now, whilst all of this was happening, in New Orleans, obviously things were getting a little bit uneasy. You had a French-speaking population, you had Spanish governors, everything was set there to basically light that tinderbox and for the whole position to explode. But everyone pretty much held their nerve to see what was going to happen next, and there wasn't any major conflicts going on in New Orleans or in the territory of Louisiana. Now, with the Louisiana territory under the possession now of the French, this took place around about 1800. Not too long after that, there was a slave revolt and uprising led by Toussaint Louverture, and this took place on the island of Saint-Domingue, and which is now known as Haiti, and this was the Haitian Revolution, and it took place in 1801. Up until that time, it was a French colony, but now they've asserted their own independence. They booted the French out, and Napoleon Bonaparte, who was now the Emperor of the Republic of France, realized that he didn't have any means in which to defend New Orleans or the Louisiana territory now. So with this in mind, and the fact that he was going to enter into a long and costly war with Great Britain, he had to make a few decisions, and he needed the money in order to create and to maintain the war. So what he decided to do was to go into negotiations with the newly formed United States of America, invited two diplomats over to discuss the issue, and before too long, in 1803, the Louisiana Purchase was created, and it meant that the whole land of Louisiana was basically ceded to the United States for a bargain price. So that's a little bit of an overview of what's to come up in this video. So watch as we round off the early history of Louisiana, starting off with the French Revolution and ending with the Louisiana Purchase.
The other revolution that presented problems to many Louisianians was the French Revolution, which came hard on the heels of the American Revolution.
The uprising in France would shake the very foundations of power throughout the world, including Louisiana. But what began supposedly as a struggle for liberty, equality, and fraternity soon turned to a murderous reign of terror. Thousands were killed, including the King and Queen of France.
The ideas of the French Revolution alarmed many Louisianians because they saw themselves as of this budding aristocratic class, and their lifestyle they saw as a mirror image of the aristocratic lifestyle in France. So when the middle class are successful in bringing about their revolution in France, Louisianians are greatly concerned that something of that nature will happen here.
Spanish governors had already put down one revolution in Louisiana. They began to fear another. But instead, it was an insurrection in a small Caribbean colony which changed the complexion of Louisiana. The island was known as Saint-Domingue or Haiti.
Toussaint Louverture's revolution in Haiti, which brought independence to that country eventually, posed a big problem for white Louisianians, particularly plantation owners who had large numbers of black slaves under their control. The fear was that slaves coming from Haiti, by one means or another, would agitate in Louisiana, promote revolutionary ideas, and bring about a black uprising in Louisiana similar to the one in Haiti.
The rebellion which won Haiti's independence also brought more than 10,000 refugees to Louisiana, including many wealthy planters. Just like the Acadian immigrants before them, these aristocratic Creoles helped to expand French language and culture in Louisiana, but now with a distinctively Caribbean flavor. White slave owners, however, were not the only ones to flee Haiti.
In Louisiana, the free people of color were quite numerous, especially in New Orleans, but also in rural parishes. And their numbers doubled when the Haitian refugees arrived. Generally, they were extremely able people. Aside from being highly skilled, they had a very strong intellectual community of artists and writers and inventors. And they were frugal and hardworking, and they accumulated property, and they increased in numbers and in wealth.
At the same time, another group of immigrants were swarming into Louisiana, the Americans.
This restless population is attempting to get possession of all the vast continent. Their ambitions will not be limited to the Mississippi. The method of spreading themselves and their policy are so much to be feared by Spain as are their arms. Baron de Carondelet, governor of Louisiana.
They did everything they could to satisfy the Americans so they wouldn't take the river by force, but they were constantly in fear of an invasion.
By the start of the 19th century, Spain would indeed lose Louisiana, but not to the Americans. From the wreckage of the French Revolution, one man had emerged and crowned himself emperor: Napoleon Bonaparte. Bonaparte had set out to conquer the world and restore the French Empire in the Americas. To do that, he would need Louisiana. With the secret treaty of San Ildefonso in 1800, France took back the colony from the Spanish. Napoleon had retaken Louisiana for France, but he could not keep her.
Napoleon needed money if he was going to continue his war against England. And he knew he couldn't hold on to Louisiana. It was just going to be impossible. America was growing. American settlers had already begun to go across the Mississippi River. The French couldn't get any troops over here. They weren't going to hold on to Louisiana. Why not get some money for it?
They shall not have the Mississippi which they covet. I already considered the colony as entirely lost. And it appears to me that in the hands of this growing power, it will be more useful to the policy of France than if I should attempt to keep it.
This was the moment the Americans had been waiting for. The United States had long sought to control New Orleans, guaranteeing free shipping on the Mississippi. But the move westward was more than a matter of trade.
It is impossible not to look forward to distant times. when our rapid multiplication will expand itself beyond those limits and cover the whole northern, if not the southern continent, with a people speaking the same language, governed in similar forms and by similar laws. Thomas Jefferson.
The U.S. understood that the key to any American empire was the Mississippi River. Many Americans who used the river were pressing their government to take it by force. But the president was reluctant.
Jefferson had adopted conquest without war, and that was primarily through purchase or through settlement.
Knowing that Napoleon was in trouble, President Jefferson sent 2 diplomats to France. Robert Livingston and James Monroe were instructed to negotiate the purchase of New Orleans for $2 million.
Every eye in the United States is now fixed on this affair of Louisiana. Perhaps nothing since the Revolutionary War has produced more uneasy sensations through the body of the nation.
Haggling between the Americans and the French went on for weeks, and it looked doubtful that they would ever reach a deal. Then suddenly, Napoleon made a startling offer.
I renounce Louisiana. It is not only New Orleans that I will cede, it is the whole colony without any reservation. I renounce it with the greatest regret, but I require a great deal of money for this war with England.
Jefferson thought he was buying New Orleans. He had to have New Orleans if he was going to hold the West in the Union, because they needed, that is, the farmers in the West needed New Orleans as a port to ship their products. And he was looking to buy New Orleans. But to his astonishment, Napoleon said, "I'll sell the whole of Louisiana."
Jefferson had no idea he'd just bought the better part of a continent. In fact, he wasn't even sure if what he'd done was constitutional. But it was just too good a bargain to pass up.
Well, Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark out to find out what he had bought. And they went up the Missouri River, out to the mountains, and then over the mountains to the coast, and came back and reported, "You made the best bargain that has ever been made."
On May 2nd, 1803, the Louisiana Purchase was signed. For $15 million, Monroe and Livingston had negotiated the most important real estate deal in history.
We have lived long, but this is the noblest work of our whole lives. The treaty which we have just signed has not been obtained by art or dictated by force. It will change vast solitudes into flourishing districts. From this day, the United States will take their place among the powers of the first rank. Robert Livingston, American Ambassador to France.
Well, it added almost half of the territory of the United States to the new nation at a bargain price. It brought New Orleans into the Union and made it the greatest port for everybody from the Appalachians that had ended up way over to the Rockies. So how important was it? It's impossible to exaggerate its importance.
When Spain ceded Louisiana to Napoleon, it was on the condition that France would never again give up the colony. Within 3 years, Louisiana had been handed over to the Americans. Pierre Clément de La Salle, the French prefect in Louisiana, watched helplessly as his country's flag came down and the American banner was raised. "What a magnificent new France we lost," he lamented. The brown waters of the Mississippi rolled down through Louisiana just as they always had. But now, the people on its banks were the newest citizens of a very young nation.